if you are an ally, you know it. And if you're not an ally, it is because two people know each other and have a connection that my friend who has different political values recognize that we all have hearts, we all have families, we all love, and sometimes it's a chosen family.
Welcome to Balancing Life's Issues, the podcast, and today we are here to celebrate Pride Month and ask the question, why do we celebrate Pride Month? Sure, we could take 30 days to hang a flag and attend a parade, but what are we doing in our communities or our work environments to create inclusive spaces so that people we know and love don't have to live in fear? As we sit here today, the ACLU is tracking 516 anti-LGBTQ bills in the U.S., including but not limited to curriculum censorship, healthcare restrictions, facility bans, sports bans, and even forced outing in schools. The ups and downs are stark. Recently for myself, a neighbor approached our home taking note of our pride flag and invited us to a pride party that they were having. How cool is that moment for us? Because that's why we fly our flag, to help inform members of our community that this is a safe place. However, on that very same day at the local brewery, I overheard that a patron had pointed at the American flag, saying that was the flag that they fought for, then pointed at the pride flag, saying, "I didn't fight for that one." The ups and downs are stark. So today, I wanted to bring on BLI senior trainer Lori Jones, who after becoming a veteran, has had a 30-year career as an applied sociologist, working in education and government, to talk to us about how far we've come since she came out in 1981, while recognizing how much farther we have to go. Welcome to the podcast, Lori.
Hi, exciting to see you, Kai. I'm glad that we're talking about this today. It feels good. It's Pride Month.
Exactly, yes, and it's been wonderful getting to know you, through our pre-call, so I'm finally excited just to rip the lid off and just kind of chat. So I guess tell our audience about yourself and your work with the LGBTQ communities.
So I've been out for a long time. I came out in 1981 when Diana Ross released I'm Coming Out. So that was a great song to dance to in the early 80s. I have been a lesbian since early 80s, and I'm now in my early 20s. I'm now in my early 60s. I did receive an honorable discharge for homosexuality or bisexuality from the United States Navy in 1986, and others did not. There were witch hunts, and it wasn't their choice to leave the service. I also was in the...
So what was the climate of the time of the military that led to you being discharged?
It was a good time, and it was the best of times and the worst of times. When lesbians would find each other, or we would go overseas to the gay bars, and we would, have each other's backs, and we would... there were places, mostly bars and establishments and code words that we would use to identify each other. And, it was also, so there was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of identification, and there were safe spaces.
Gotcha.
Bookstores, women's bookstores were safe spaces. Being in the military or being on a ship, you knew who was and wasn't. So we would have each other's backs. It was before Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Yeah.
So nobody told. And with Don't Ask, Don't Tell, people would tell and they could get, discharged for, the intention of Don't Ask, Don't Tell was to make it better for gays serving in the military. And it really didn't, because the military wasn't
it made it worse.
On board.
So after your time in the military, what was happening in your life at that time, and what direction did that take you in?
I actually got out of the military because of my sexual orientation, and I did get support from some gay rights advocates to actually not get less than an honorable, because I had not done anything wrong.
Gotcha.
What I did was I started going back to school. I got a master's and a bachelor's and a master's in sociology, and I studied, queer theory. I was in the first ever queer studies course at San Diego State University.
Oh, how cool.
And then I worked in HIV prevention for 25 years. So I got to take my interest in sociology to the work of HIV prevention, which disproportionately impacts both homosexual and trans and non-binary people.
Yeah. And so you were on the ground working during like the HIV crisis
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
80s?
I started in the early 90s, and once medications came out to make HIV treatable as a chronic illness, things changed, but the early days were very terrifying, and the lesbians in the community were there for the gay
Mm-hmm.
men, and we lost many. We went to many funerals, and today's young gay men in
Yeah.
HIV prevention don't really know. They have social amnesia. They don't really understand where we've come from, the beginning.
Right. Removed
Yeah,
removed from that time.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like something often I'll reflect on is, through these kinds of interviews, like something like the civil rights movement was not long ago, right? Or women being able to get a credit card for the first time was not that long ago. So it's interesting that these pockets of people are gaining or still trying to gain like true full rights in truly inclusive places of work, like for example. And so I guess when it comes to that, it all feels so polarizing right now, and that's it's really unfortunate that it does. So like I guess as you look at Pride Month, like what comes to mind, and what does it mean to you?
I feel sincerely proud. I feel sincerely proud. Proud to say I'm a lesbian, proud to say I'm out, proud that my niece, who's in her 30s, has come out as queer and is in a relationship with a non-binary identified individual. Proud to be supportive of her when there isn't always support, even in the LGBTQIA plus community. Sometimes the LG doesn't wrap its brain well around concepts like
Mm-hmm.
non-binary or people choosing queer.
Right. You mean lesbian, gay, wrapping around how the acronym has grown.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you an example. I work in HIV prevention with a lot of old white gay men, and I love them.
Uh-huh.
I've worked with a lot of trans women, and I understand and know those groups because I've worked with them for decades. And on the horizon comes this idea of non-binary, and I've
Yeah.
seen people say, well, in HIV prevention and in any government work, they want you to put people in boxes, and now we have another box, right? Another box for non-binary. But I have met and worked with people who have chosen to transition. They've transitioned successfully. I've known people that have started to transition and decided not to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not uncommon in my over 40 years being an out lesbian over the years to have had friends that were in relationships where a woman identified, a trans person changes their gender and then is now in a relationship with a woman. So, they are not typically heterosexual, but you've got a man identified with a woman identified relationship. So there are so many possibilities over the years of doing the work in HIV prevention, really understanding, the younger generations really get it about they don't really want to have to be put in a box. They want to be able to
Yeah.
express themselves and, both masculine and feminine sides. So I see
Mm-hmm.
that and I understand that, but a lot of people in my age group may not. I've
Yeah.
seen and watched people say, you decide, are you going to be gay or straight? Just make up
Right.
your
Yeah,
mind,
you do hear that.
Sometimes in my family I've seen that happen.
Yeah,
So
sure. Yeah, the family dynamics are a huge part of this, right? And like a lot of what I'm hearing is just like this generational difference in like sexuality and how we define ourselves. So, I guess what's your advice to someone in your age group around that discussion, and then what would be your advice for someone in a younger generation on how even the community itself can better understand and align?
ignorance and hate still exist. And
Yes, they
what
do.
was a radical movement when, Stonewall occurred, when gay
Mm-hmm.
pride began, has become a
Yep.
liberal movement where we want to change the
Right.
system within the system rather than just, obliterate the system. And my
Mm-hmm.
advice to people that are in my age group is to have an open mind and an open heart.
Yeah.
If you've gone to gay pride festivals, I took my nieces and nephews when they were in their teens, and they made a sign for me that says, I love my rainbow ant. They used a little ant like a little ant on the, and they
Oh, that's
carried the
cute.
flag. And my nephew, who was only 13 years old, said he was very offended by many of the men because of their
Sure.
way of presenting. And I think,
Uh-huh.
to just be and live in the openness of what it is to be
Hmm.
who you are fully, and to know that you're
Yes.
lovable, you know, for the younger generations, for my niece and those coming after her, for the really young adolescents that are trans and they're now getting
Hmm.
services to support their transition. That lovely campaign, It Gets Better.
Uh-huh.
The messaging that we all have a right to love who we want to love and to experience our bodies and our identification in ways that are right for us. So because
Yeah.
I studied being a sociologist, it was never difficult for me. And in my family
Sure.
accepted me. I was very lucky that I come from
Mm.
people
Yeah,
that.
that seems like it's not the norm, right? In terms of acceptance at that time with your family.
No, I mean, I know a lot of people that have experienced a lot of hate crimes. The other thing about me is that I pass. I pass. Unless I come out, people don't think that I'm a lesbian. I pass as heterosexual, but I
I
always come
see.
out. I mean, I come out frequently and always,
Yeah.
even occasionally in my trainings, I'll come out just because I think if it's helpful to people to understand and know, and they see and I identify with someone, and there's a person, that's I am who I am. And so I
Yeah.
believe that I need to be proud all year round. And this month, there is an
Sure.
elevated sense of hope for me. Yes, there's hate crime. Yes, there's
Mm.
backlash. I was talking to my sister, and she said, I'm really concerned about how this negative thing you talked about with regard to the flag, that how that messaging is out there. It is. It's disturbing. I mean, it's disturbing and it's
Yeah.
dehumanizing and it's sometimes very destabilizing. And we need to go
Yeah. You
forward.
can't sugarcoat it. Like it is
Yeah,
happening.
we need to go forward together. We need to go
Hmm.
forward in our families, in our work, in our play, being who we are, finding
Hmm.
safe spaces. And I think the consciousness of the younger generation, even the fact that I do trainings for employee
Right.
assistance programs, and employee assistance programs can offer support and assistance to family members of people that are employed that are going through gender
Right.
identification challenges or choices about orientation. They're very
Hmm.
different. Orientation and gender are different, but we can celebrate all of
Yeah.
it with the
Right. Right.
LGBTQIA.
And on that topic of employee assistance programs, because that's BLI exists to help create inclusive work environments, right? Where anybody can show up to work, not having to live in fear, not having to compartmentalize their home life and then their work life. So I guess what for you and your experience with all these trainings you've done, like what are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen companies make as they, apply inclusive policies, call it, and what are some things that you've seen gone really well?
So I can give an example of a mistake and an example of what really works. So the slogan in HIV prevention is "Nothing about us without us." And where I worked
Hmm.
for a government agency, we did a campaign that was focusing on rather than targeting. It's our language that matters. We're focusing on a population, and they didn't have anybody from the population involved in the development of the campaign. They put up a billboard in a part of
Ah.
town with not the ethnicity of the folks that lived in that area of
Mm.
town, and there were complaints about it, and they didn't take it down. And I like the idea of what works is when you have the people involved in the marketing campaigns or the people involved in the messaging give you the messages and give you ideas for what to call things and teach you
Yeah.
the things we do right are
Hmm.
understanding the multiple layers of oppression and discrimination and things that trans folks experience and um, really bring to it a humanism, a sense of heart and understanding that, I have a friend who has a different political orientation than me, and maybe orientation is the wrong word, but he is I've educated him a lot. And he's educated me too, because he's going to vote however he votes. And he has a daughter that wants to transition to being a male, and he can't wrap his brain around it to save his life. And it is this tension of, how do you love someone the way they are when you're afraid that they're going to make their life hard? My mother was afraid when I came out to her when I was 21 that my life was going to be harder. She was afraid for me. I watched my sister do that to some degree with her daughter regarding just this choice and why, this is her choice. So
I guess what I heard in some of that was, if you are a company and you believe like inclusive work environments, you need to be better about that. And you look around your upper management and maybe everybody's white, or maybe everybody's, maybe there's no female representation. So outsource that, perspective, because you need that in order to make effective policies that are going to work for you. And I think on the other side of that, I heard is just be ready to listen and affirm, as opposed to try to understand. Does that sound right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things companies can do. They can provide trainings, super important. They can support and celebrate diversity, inclusion, and equity initiatives, employee resource groups. I was on the employee resource group for the LGBTQ and allies. They can really enlist people in this idea of being an ally, because we need everybody. We do things where the government that I work for, where they light up the county administration building with the pride lights and have events where people can celebrate. And I think that's what we want to do. I mean, for me, pride is celebrating. I mean, I could tear.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could tear up about, all the pride events I've been to. Right now at San Diego County, it's 5 hours long. It is painful because you have to everybody, all the churches, all the politicians, and it is
everybody.
And it's been co-opted, by we're a market. So people want to make money off of us. So you go to Gay Pride, you pay a lot of money, you go to the booths. But the spirit of it is, those women, those trans women that were in Stonewall, that wanted to fight for their brothers and sisters, that, we continue to open our mind about what is the fight. And in the workplace, diversity and inclusion is about letting people bring all of themselves to work so that they feel safe and they can be who they are, and they can contribute perspectives. I would say we need to hire. We need to hire, not just bring in someone as a representative and as a volunteer in HIV prevention. It's about getting the people, some acknowledgement of their expertise and their knowledge and their experience by hiring.
So I guess the last question, wrap it up, and thank you so much for your time. I guess what's this idea of how can someone be the best ally possible? That's not just lip service, I guess, as you were pointing out.
Boy, it's a good question. If you are an ally, you know it. I have many, 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 many friends that are allies. And if you're not an ally, it is because two people know each other and have a connection. That my friend who has different political values, I know he has a heart and he has a family and he loves. So if we all, recognize that we all have hearts, we all have families, we all love, and sometimes it's a chosen family. Sometimes the family that we're connecting to is our community and activities and things we're doing. And some people have to leave their families. They have to leave, parts of the United States and go live in someplace really liberal like California. And all the support that we can do along the way, for the ally is to, be a human, be kind, be, clear and kind.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. Be human, be kind. So, Lori, thank you so much for your message of love and hope. And, thank you for your all the effort that you've put into the community. And, I look forward to many conversations down the road. So thanks again for your time.
Super proud, super proud. Good to meet you, Kai. Good job. And I look forward to another conversation in the future.
But Lori wasn't the only BLI trainer eager to share a message about Pride Month.
Greetings and happy Pride. My name is Ra Kalan. they, she pronouns. I'm an emotional intelligence consultant and a proud trainer for balancing life's issues. I host trainings pertaining to emotional health, relationships, and mental health. And for us over here, the best way to celebrate Pride is to be radically honest with yourself and step into your authenticity unapologetically.
Bonita LaDuca, communications trainer and consultant. Some of the areas of my expertise are nonverbal communication, managing and developing teams, how to make effective decisions, how to make the most of feedback, critical thinking, overcoming negativity, and nonverbal communication. My message for Pride: there's celebrating, educating, advocating, marching, but my main thought for us today is to authenticating. Be yourself. Find your voice. Be yourself.
Hello, my name is John E. Braun. I am a master mindset life coach and certified behavioral consultant. Trainings you can expect to hear from me with BLI, compassionate leadership, building a culture of kindness, and mental health concerns in the workplace, just to name a few. And what's my message on celebrating Pride Month this year? Connect. Get out into the community. Take note of all of the amazing organizations in your local community that celebrate the diversity of thought, the diversity of life, and build strong relationships. Have fun, be safe, happy Pride.
This has been a production of Balancing Life's Issues with your hosts, Kai Sorensen and Wendy Wallner. Produced by me, Kai. Rate, leave a review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen so you can get brand new episodes as they drop. Got an idea for the show? Email me, kai@balancinglifesissues.com. Anything to add, Miles?